think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
All right. Hey, how are we doing out there? All across this great land of ours and around the world. Time once again for the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We're glad to have you with us today. And if you've been tuning into us last couple of days, the shows may have sound repetitive. That's because they were. We apologize. Technical difficulties, some things going on. We just weren't able to do things the way that we like to do them, try to keep it as professional as possible. Anyway, we're glad to have you with us today. Got a full gamut here. You know, you take a couple of days off. In fact, over the weekend, you talk about the weekend and a couple of days working on some other issues here at the station. And lo and behold, boy, what a difference 24 hours makes when you think about 72 or even more than that. Wow, it's turning into a real conglomeration here. We're going to do something today kind of different. We have a guest coming up the first hour here after our first set of breaks, Jake McCauley from the American View, and they run what they call the Constitution Institute, or the Institute of the Constitution. And they go out, they have curriculums, they have DVD curriculums, but they actually go out in person and teach Constitution classes to schools, political leaders, believe it or not. They've got a large demand amongst political leaders, people in office that want to know about the Constitution. There's a bell ringer for you. And even things like police departments and fire departments, they have special curriculums geared for the audience that they're working with. And I met Jake a couple of weeks ago at a meeting out here, and was so impressed with him I wanted to get him on the show here to talk about the Constitution. So that'll be in our first hour here. Second hour, we're going to do something I think it's going to be kind of fun, but also very serious. I call it the ever increasing hypocritical files. And we're going to be talking about some of the things that have just come out in the last couple of weeks that the left is just out there just raising holy hell over. You know, things like Kellyanne Conway with her knees on the couch and, you know, the really important things that matter in life. But the reason I want to cover these things is because this is the only way we're going to kill this, kill this off. We've got to meet. This is one of those situations. You've got to meet, you know, fire with fire. You got to fight fire with fire. And every time one of these people come out with these little, you know, majoring in the minor things, making mountains out of molehills, we need to do whatever we can do to squash it, and we need to squash it quick. So I'm going to do tonight 3 or 4 things that have happened the last couple of weeks, and we're going to give you comparisons to the responses of the left done much earlier than what's happening here. You'll have fun with it. Just stick with us during the entire show. So having said that, let me get my cohort partner in crime online here. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, John. I'm doing good. It's the middle of the week, and I've made it this far. I'm doing really good. I'm doing better, I think, than most of those Republicans in Congress are.
Yes.
And they deserve every bit of flack that they're getting, and they should get even more flack. You know, I like this thing. I got this thing from Heritage Action for America, and this is Ronald Reagan once said, government's view of the economy could be summed up in a few short phrases. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. And that's exactly what the GOP's excited new healthcare plan does. All three of those.
I know. I was looking over the weekend. Rand Paul, I think, has the best opinion on this. He has the best view on this. And he's saying, I'm not real keen on this because this is not really repealing anything. It's just repackaging it. He was saying, he was floating the idea, we had a bill in 2015. Everybody agreed on it. Why don't we put that out there? Why don't we repeal it first and then throw this other bill out there and let's get it going? And you can't repeal without replacing. You can't, we don't want this black hole or this void out there where nothing is available. I'm like, yeah, like what you've got now is really available. But from everybody I'm hearing, and I was listening to a couple of the GOP Freedom Caucus people today. I just caught segments of them on and off on the radio and caught something on Shepard Smith here for a while today. And they're pretty much, I hope they take that stand. I hope they take that stand and say, no, this is not what we were elected to do. This is not what Trump was elected to do. He ran on a reform campaign. Now, he's out there toting it. He's saying, well, I'm doing what I promised. We're repealing and replacing it. But that's not, let's put that in context. We didn't expect you to repeal it and replace it with the same thing and just change the name.
Yeah.
And here's something that's funny, Joe. You'll get a kick out of this. Nancy Pelosi's saying we have to read the bill first before we vote on it.
Oh, it's an easier read since it's not 2,000 pages. It's 100-some pages. But who cares? If it's just retitling the same crap is crap.
Yeah, but again, another archive from the hypocrisy files. They had to pass the bill so we could find out what was in it, but she has to read the bill before they pass it.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny how they're going about this, and you got Ryan's out there. Well, I believe in the rule of order because the Democrats didn't follow the game plan, and they did things the way they wanted to do it just to pass Obamacare through. I get that, but it's like, yeah, we're going to do this in an orderly way. We got to do it this way because that's the way things are supposed to be done. It's like, yeah, and what they're really saying is those words we really should make the hair on the back of your neck rise. Trust me, I'm from the government. Yeah. That's what they're basically saying.
Well, it's funny because, here's the deal. If this ends up going through the way that it is right now, and I'm not so sure that it will. I think they'll to get it past Congress. The fact that Mitch McConnell's raving about it already gives me chills up my back. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, let's say it gets through this way. It'll get through the House. The problem is, of course, going to be the Senate. And from what I understand, they only need one other senator to walk away from this thing. I think two of them have already said, Mike Lee and Rand Paul have already said they're not voting for it. So I think if they get one more, maybe Ted Cruz or somebody like that. Cruz says he's on the fence right now. But if they actually do that and they don't pass it, or they do pass it, let's just say they do pass it, then Trump has pretty much knocked himself down to one term because his supporters are not going to, so they're not going to like this. I don't like it. I'm not even a supporter, and I don't like it. But I think, we voted for him. Why? Because he was better than Hillary Clinton. Look at the options here. But the point being is that if this has to become his legislation, his key legislation, in the same way that it became Obama's key legislation. If you're going to undo this thing, you've got to.
That's the thing. They have a chance to walk away from this and go, because Democrats have owned Obamacare the entire time. Why put your stamp on any of this? You do not get rid of Obamacare. Now you own it.
Yeah.
You own it. You bought it. You paid for it. Now, and you're going to pay for it because none of these Republicans ran on what they're trying to push through right now.
No.
They didn't run on 2010, 14, 16. They didn't run on N8. They ran on repealing Obamacare, not changing the name of it, and telling us this smells better because it's got an R in front of it now.
Yeah, and that's going to be the telltale sign here. Of course, we're going to have to watch us work through the cycle here, but It's not looking good right now in my opinion, in terms of him keeping or being elected a second term if he blows this. Anyway, guys, we got to go to break. When we come back, we should have Jake McCauley with us. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
We're not arguing. We're explaining why we're right. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time.
Yeah, it just went out again. I just tried to call Jake.
It's a warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey, folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right, folks. Hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we've got with us on the line right now Jake McCauley from the American View, or the Institute on the Constitution. How are you doing today, Jake?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's a privilege to be on with you guys. Thank you for your work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for yours. And sorry, we had to cut you off there. You had somebody talking to you in the background. It was screwing us up over here.
Oh, that's what happened. My apologies.
Yeah. Well, read the instructions. The instructions said,
exactly.
Quiet room, nobody around. All right.
Which
anyway.
is where I promise I am.
All right. Okay. Yeah, let's. I think what I'd like to do first is just kind of give people an opportunity for you to explain what exactly you do at the American View. I have a very good handle on it, having attended some of your classes a couple of years ago with Steve Jackson, and I understand you're kind of standing in the forefront of this thing right now. So, if you could give us, the listeners, an overview of how you operate and what you do.
Well, we want to teach Americans to think and understand what it is to be American. And we do that, the American view of law and government is quintessentially summed up in 3 phrases. Number 1, as Americans, we believe there is a God. Number 2, we believe that our rights come from God. And number 3, we believe that the purpose civil government exists, the only purpose that exists, is to secure those God-given rights that our Creator gave to us. And that's found in the Declaration of Independence. And so the way that we promote that message is by education. Of course, we speak all over the country. We have chapters in 33 states, but we have a Constitution course. It's a 12-lecture course that includes a lecture series along with homework, assignments, a review, and a test. And that particular course has been taught in all 50 states. We have graduates, and currently it's being promoted throughout the country to try to reinvigorate America and her roots. Again, reacclimate her. What is it to be American? What does that mean? We do that through the education system. We have ages 6 to 12. We do Patriot camps from 12 on through to 90 years old. We teach our courses of instruction, public, private, and also homeschools, and then in civic groups, churches, and in legislative halls.
Now, I want to touch on something because you just said something that I remember you speaking about the night I saw you over there at the Eagle Forum. And you said you have chapters in 33 states. And I think you mentioned, and I'd like my listeners to know, why you are not able to get chapters in all 50 states.
Well, here's how it kind of works out. It's not that we're not able to. I took over the organization just about 2.5 years ago, and the organization was in and still is in Washington, D.C. area. And by that, we were just a service operation. The founder was an attorney. He had a law firm. They paid the bills and taught classes in Maryland. Afterwards, we determined that we need to make a more substantial impact across the country. So I've done the work of reaching out in each of the states in our union and going and speaking and working and coordinating with people. And every time I come to a new state, we generally have another chapter leader that we leave behind. So it's not that the people don't exist in all 50 states. It's just that I don't have regular contact with about 17 states in our union. But I'm working on it, and I'll get there hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think you also made to mention that you want to make sure you get into all 57 states. I remember that was one of the things that made me laugh.
That's right. Some people believe that in our country.
Now,
those same people don't know what it's like to be American. They couldn't tell you that there is a creator God because they think that they're God, and they believe that the purpose of government is to give us health, education, and welfare, and to take care of us from cradle to grave. That's not America. It's not American. And frankly, I think that anybody who wants to try that should just go over into Europe and live there, not here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm total agreement there. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the curriculums because I didn't have a chance. One of these things, when I go to these meetings, and usually after meetings, everybody wants to flock to the listener. I'm not one of these guys who wants to stand around and wait, my turn. I'm very anxious like that. So I thought, well, I'll just write it down and ask them when I get them on the show. Your different curriculums, that was one thing that really kind of touched me because one of the things we're working on here and one of the organizations that I'm putting together and stuff is for the purpose of targeting pastors to do exactly what you do, to get pastors more informed and educated on how to articulate political issues from biblical perspective, from the pulpit. And I know that you as a pastor also, that you've had to deal with that also. But I wanted to, how do your curriculums differ? Like you say, you have the K through 12. Okay, you got schools, and then I understand that you also teach people that are actually in leadership positions in office. Did I hear that right?
That is correct. Just as one example, in Ohio, we have an assemblyman. I do not recall his name, and forgive me for that right off the top of my head, but he wants to teach it in the legislative halls there in Ohio. So he will sponsor a classroom, and one of our instructors will come in and teach, and he will invite all of his fellow assembly members from the local Ohio State House to come into. So that's one way that we do it. Essentially, you take the curriculum and you boil it down in a variety of different ways. The pastor seminar I just recently did for our pastor, for a group of pastors in Northern California, near the Sacramento area. So the pastors all came, and we have a course that we've kind of condensed. We've taken our 12-week course and turned it into, our 12-lecture course and turned it into 4 lectures. So we kind of bridged 3 lectures together in all 4 of these sessions.
Okay.
So we're given more of the peaks and the peaks of it.
Now, when you go to civic leaders, like you mentioned, police officers and fire department, is it a different curriculum there, the way you present it?
Nope. It's pretty much identical. It's the same content. It may depend. For example, if I'm in a public school, a lot of the students there are not familiar with God-given liberties or God himself. And so I have to bring it from more of a historical standpoint, not because I'm afraid of being in trouble. That's never the fear. But it's knowing your audience and presenting it to a way where they're going to receive the most from it. So it may change. There may be different variations, but the content is the same because the history of America is the same. Even if revisionists try to rewrite it, they can't change it.
Right. Yeah. I get you there. It's just, I find that kind of interesting that you say, okay, well, if you were teaching kids in school, you're obviously going to approach it from a different angle than you would 60-year-old state assemblyman, which I find this fascinating. I'm thinking maybe this is something that anybody that runs for political office should have to pass a test for this before they run. I'm just amazed that you have people like Nancy Pelosi that doesn't know the difference between the Constitution and the Declaration. And it's like, how do these people get elected? Well, I guess it's because the electorate is just as ignorant. That's a hard thing to say, but I think that's a lot of what our problem is in America is today, is that a lot of people just don't know what it is they're supposed to look for in a candidate. It seems like Obama was elected, like I look at him and like he was elected as the prom king, that kind of thing. It wasn't that he had any special skills or talents. It was that he looked cool, he looked cool. He had that little swagger to him, that kind of stuff. And it's, the Kim Kardashian complex kind of thing. I don't know. But, it just, you think about it, that's really what we've come down to in this country. We look at people at their looks or their economic standing. You look at athletes today and these guys, I've always say the same. I'm kind of an abrupt thinker, and I say things like, you can take somebody out of the ghetto and make them a millionaire, but that doesn't get the ghetto out of them. And we have so many of these athletes that are out there making millions of dollars, and and these are the role models, and we hear they're shooting people in the clubs, they got drug problems, beating their wives, and all this, and this is what we're supposed to look at and say this is success. Yeah. It blows me away. So now.
Understood.
You got a comment?
No, I understand where you're coming from. It's become kind of showbiz, and we don't compromise to do that. I try to know my audience. So if I'm coming into a school, for example, I'm going to speak as a youth would speak and understand, while not compromising my principles. If I'm going to come into a church, I might have a little different approach. I think we as presenters of this material, sometimes we've lost our crowd. In other words, we expect them to get on board with us. So there is a little bit of savvy that's involved with some of the approaches that we take, but by no means can we ever water down our approach. And to your point about those that are in office should know and understand the Constitution, my goodness, they take an oath to swear before them and God that they will uphold it. Attorneys aren't even taught the Constitution. They have a new evolutionary style of thinking. And that's the danger that's out there. And so when I do my presentations, I try my hardest to make sure that I leave a takeaway that will make the audience hungry and desirous to learn more and learn deeper.
No, that's a good point. And, I think that's one of these things that we see in our society today. People take vows, they make agreements, contracts. We refer to it in the church as a covenant. You make a covenant with somebody, but it's not a big deal to break it anymore. You're out there saying, I'm going to protect the Constitution of the United States, and then turn around and say, well, every one of the Bill of Rights can be regulated. I'm like, sure. It's hard to, when you first hear something like that, it's hard to get your head around it. Like, what are you talking about? Wait, how did you get to where you're at? It's amazing to me that we reward ignorance in this country much more than we do intelligence and reasoning. I would like to ask you something. Joe, do you have anything you want to ask Jake? I don't mean to take hostage the conversation here. Do you have anything you wanted to ask him?
I just glad to see that they're doing. I like the way that they're kind of tailoring their lessons to the audience because I'm not quite sure that they need to tailor it as much the children and those that are in elected office. I think probably those would probably be the same lessons right there. I think because those elected office, I don't think their IQs are much better than the children.
Well, I know.
I'm not going to disagree. We actually have some, and you can see it on our website, theamericanview.com. We have students that are 14, 15, and 16 that write columns on a weekly basis, and when you read what they articulate, it's pretty shocking. These students, I'm very hopeful for our future if these future leaders get into office, because they got their eye on the ball, and I think they're going to blow a lot of these old guys away with their ability to articulate founding principles and be able to defend, their stances and law.
I agree with that, because I think one of the things I see, like for instance, we were at the meeting the other night, the Eagle Forum, and I don't want to in any way denigrate what took place there, but I see this a lot when I go to Tea Party rallies or Republican meetings and stuff. It's like the ratio of people over 50 to people under 30 is just astronomically disproportionate. It's like, I go into these meetings and I'm like, geez, I'm the youngest guy here, and it's like, and that's not saying, that's not good. And then I think about, well, who's touching the youth? That's one of the things we're looking at out here in the state of California is how can we actually get the youth to not only understand what's at stake here, it's their future that's at stake. I tell my grandkids all the time, hey, another 20, 25 years, I'm not going to be here. You guys are going to have to carry the load. Yeah. And the only reason I'm doing what I do now is to try to get you on board with the fact that if you don't fight for what you've got, you're going to lose it. Somebody's going to take it away from you. Now, and so I was really impressed with Jake had his children up there. They actually did a what would you call it, a question and answer thing with his wife. She asked him questions, and these kids, I have to be honest, I stumbled on the Second Amendment. I didn't word it the same way. I knew what it meant, but your son verbatim, boom, 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 will not be infringed. And I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, okay, that's what it was. Now here, I talk about this every day, and I still couldn't call it, from memory what it is, but I was very impressed with that the kids do absorb what you give them, and I think that's a very important thing. They are watching what adults are doing, and they are mimicking it, and that's that can be a good thing. It can be a very bad thing. We've got to go to a break, Jay. When I get back here, when we come back, I really want to kind of zero in here on my pet peeve, pet project, main target kind of thing, and that's the pastors in the church. That was one of the things that impressed me the most about what you were talking about. Very much in line with the vision that I have with the organization we're putting together called the Nehemiah Project, where we're trying to actually create a school of ministry that will teach pastors how to preach the full gospel and how to articulate as not only citizens of heaven, but citizens of this world. A lot of people like to say, well, I'm not of this world. Well, yeah, you are. Okay, you're here. Okay, you got to deal with that. We got to go to break. We've got Jake McCauley from the American View with us. We'll be right back.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
You can now find us on the Amazon Echo and Echo Dot, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, and we also have the phone apps in the App Store for your particular phone. And just in case we activated your Echo Dot, Alexa, stop.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate a lower tax bill. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will fight for you using industry secrets that can stop any IRS actions, eliminate penalties and interest, and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor now for a free IRS audit emergency review.
800-691-9879. 800-691-9879. 800-691-9879. That's 800-691-9879.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
My job is not to represent the world. My job is to represent the United States of America.
Am I not speaking English? The Conservative Syndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American. Okay. Hey, we're back, and I am your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We've got Jake McCauley from the American View, an organization that has quite an impressive curriculum that teaches the Constitution, and this is one of these things that I think we need to go back to. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I think it was, there was a Constitution test that we had to take. And if we failed that test, they actually told us that we would not go to the next grade. It was like that important. It was like a big thing. You spent the whole year in history class studying for this one test. And I remember that very vividly. Now it's like you go into schools and people don't even know what the Constitution is. It's like, oh yeah, it's the thing. I saw somebody wearing a T-shirt with it printed on the back or something like that. You know, it's become like a cross. It's like the cross. It's become a piece of jewelry or an accessory. Anyway, Jake, I want to really kind of zero in here on the. You got somebody in the background there? Whoever's talking back there needs to hush it up. we're picking up.
I've got it. I'm in my office. I apologize.
Okay, we're picking everybody up back there. So anyway, my big pet peeve is something that I've learned. I spent 18 years in ministry, and about half of those years sitting in the office of a pastor. And I've been out. I've done outreach. I've done all these things. I've met many pastors over the years that I've been involved. And in fact, I got involved in radio because I was going to do stuff for my church. I wanted to produce church programs, and ended up getting on the radio myself. And what happened, and what I found is that there is, for the most part, I find two reasons with pastors why they don't like to articulate politics from the pulpit. One, of course, is the tax-exempt status. They fear, being reported and losing their tax-exempt status. The other one, of course, I think is fear of losing their congregants. But I think the real issue is that a lot of them just don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know how to approach it, and I think that's why your program is so important. But I wanted to ask you, when you talk to pastors, what's the greatest resistance you get from pastors when you start approaching them about doing something like this?
Well, I would say that I very rarely hear that pastors bring up the 501c3 thing, but I'll give you an example of a pastor that I met with on Saturday. I think it was this past Saturday. It was in the Tahoe area. I had sat down with him, and he doesn't vote, does not encourage any of his congregation to vote or study America's heritage. And I think most of this is kind of I don't want to call it a rebellion, but it's an ignorance from the pulpit. Sometimes when pastors get in the pulpit, they believe, there's only one purpose that the church exists, and that's to lead people to Christ. And it does exist to do that. I'm not denying that fact, and that's the overwhelming, major calling to speak the prophetic word of God to society. But I think they're derelict of duty in that they don't preach the whole counsel of God. God tells us very specifically what type of government we should have, what type of leaders should lead us, what type of people should have power to protect and to defend us as his church. And so I think that is probably the top. Number one is ignorance. Number two, I think they've developed their own type of theology on the matter, and they don't take any incoming calls. Does that make sense?
Yes, I absolutely. Yeah, I think the only thing I might expound on in your answer there is the fact that I think a lot of pastors, I
I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. They just there's a level of trepidation there that they don't want to admit that they don't know, and there's something, there's this illusion with people in the church. I've noticed that the years I've been in is that the pastor is elevated to a higher level of accountability than they are in their own lives, and so like we're held up there and we're judged by what they think we're supposed to be. But if they see any infallibility or any weaknesses at all, then it really it's a fine balance. It's a real balance trying to keep credibility. I could go on this one little topic here. I'm not going to do that. But the idea that I know what I was going to say. I don't totally agree that a lot of pastors, most pastors, and I say that I think. That's my belief. Most pastors don't really think about going to the pulpit to lead people to Christ. I think that what they do is they have turned the church into an entitlement program. And the idea is, okay, now you're saved. Now let me teach you how to get all the stuff that God promises you for being a good Christian. And it's not about discipleship. It's not about sacrifice. And it's not even about serving God. And to me, that's the issue with me, is that as disciples, we're supposed to be out doing something. We're supposed to be serving. We're supposed to be proactive. We're supposed to be involved. And it's not sitting within our walls, within our programs, learning how to become more rich or more wealthy. To me, I call it the Amway mentality. It's like, let's just duplicate everything and God's going to give you all the stuff. And they never talk about the terms and conditions under which blessing comes, which is to do the work of the Lord, to go out there and work and to engage the community and engage the world. We're the ones that are supposed to be out there saving people, leading them to Christ. The pastor is supposed to be teaching us what to do after that. And that's how I see it. Do you agree with that? I know as a pastor, you probably have had to feel that too, right?
Well, yes. And I guess I wanted to share too, a majority of the churches that we work with, there is a lot of pastors out there that would take the same approach that you and I do. And I don't think this is an uncommon plight. I think our founders dealt with it. There was many pulpits that were sympathetic with the crown simply because they received the benefits of the crown, and it wasn't about their congregations, but it was the pulpits that remained speaking truth that resounded with people's hearts. And people know when they're being lied to, or when they're being put to sleep, or when they're being used, for example, just for their offering, and people are trying to keep them happy. So when I focus on what we do with educating pastors, overwhelmingly the ones that we deal with, or the clergy members that come to our events and things like that, they're plugged in, they're cued in, they're ready to make a difference in their culture for Christ and do the things that you just discussed. It's not about what we can get, it's about what we can give to the world.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because my experience has been just about the dead opposite. I go out and you start talking to pastors. I can relate to you a real quick conversation I had with a pastor friend of mine, very dear friend. I mean, a great man of God. I love him dearly, and he is, he's a very compassionate human being. We were at a men's breakfast, and it was just before the election. It was in 2012. And we were like a week away from the election. So I sat down with him, and so he started a conversation off. He said, so who's going to win, Romney or Obama? And I just told him I have no clue who's going to win. Neither one of them are good in my book, so it doesn't really at this point. And so I said, well, who are you going to vote for? And he said, well, I'm not going to vote. And I said, what do you mean you're not going to vote? He said, well, I'm not going to vote because I don't know that much about what either one of them believe in. And I go, okay, so what do you do when you get in front of your congregation in the morning and talk to them about this kind of stuff? And he said, well, I just tell them to vote the Bible. I said, okay, well, if that was that simple, why don't you just tell them to live the Bible? Why do you have to get up every Sunday morning and teach them anything? Why don't you just say, okay, guys, we're here, live the Bible? It's like I told you, you're copping out. You're copping out because you don't want to take the time or make the effort, or you're afraid you're going to, irritate half of your congregation. Or somebody might leave because you hit on some topic that maybe they're practicing in their life, and you're telling them that that's not good. But that's your job as a shepherd. So if you're worried about losing your sheep, they're not your sheep to begin with. And I told him, I said, you're a very dear friend. I love you dearly, but I'm beginning to wonder if you were called to be a pastor. because you're telling me that you're basically shoving everything off to the side. You're copping out and you're just sticking to the stuff that everybody wants to hear. The pastor's job, that staff is a hook and a stick. You pull in and you punch. There's a balance there, and that's my view on that. I'm hardcore on this stuff. So anyway,
you're bringing up something, and it's frustration I think that a lot of folks have, especially high energy, committed, evangelistic folks. Jesus was confronted with the same thing. His apostles were pretty upset about the Pharisees and the way they were acting and the way that they were even judging Christ's ministry and them as his followers. And when the topic came up, Jesus said, now Jesus never avoided a fight. Most of the times we see Jesus reproving the Pharisees, it was because of a confrontation that they instigated, or it was a confrontation that Christ instigated because he came into the temple and saw what they were doing to it. But for the most part, he pretty much ignored them, because all the negative energy that we spend trying to fix people that do not want to fix themselves, we waste all that time and energy that we could be spending on what was good. When Jesus talked about, the folks that maybe you're describing, he said, let the blind lead the blind.
Right.
They're all going to end up in a ditch. But as for you, follow my word, obey my word. And, with our initiatives to reach pastors, to bring it back to that, but I want to encourage anybody who's listening, if you want something that is kind of a low-hanging fruit, there's no heavy lifting, we would be very encouraged to work with you and to work with your congregation. And even if you're not a pastor, say you're an elder or a board member, you can teach these principles in your church. We've got a turnkey approach to do it. We're doing it with thousands of individuals and hundreds of churches across the country. And it's something that I think a lot of times pastors are so busy that they don't have time, so automatically they don't want to look into it. Well, this is something that they don't need to do anything for. You can teach this in basement of your church or during a Bible study. We've made the courses so that they're 20 minutes long. They can fit very easily into any type of schedule or format that's necessary out there. And I want to encourage you, you could make a huge difference in your church. Some churches, the pastors were not on board even with what we're doing, but because the congregation member was a solid congregation member and had a good name within the congregation, the pastor allowed a classroom to be utilized to teach it. They taught our course twice. And at the end of it, they asked if they could have pastors come to the church and do one of these pastor seminars.
All right.
The pastor, I don't know if it was reluctant or not, but they did. The pastor let them come. And the pastor ended up coming to the seminar and gave one of the best referrals to the organization because he actually watched with his eyes and he saw it. So be encouraged. There's a lot of folks that will listen, and those that don't, maybe they will if we can put a little truth under them. It's easier to catch bees with honey than vinegar.
Yeah, I am encouraged. That's why I had you on the show here. It did inspire me that there is something that's actually out there working. I wanted to give you, we're at the end of our time here with you. I wanted to give you an opportunity here to plug your site and let people know how they can get a hold of you or get a hold of the information that we're talking about today.
Well, thank you. The website is American View. It's a way for us to think American. So theamericanview.com. We do have an email that we put out every week. We're usually in a different state throughout the country every week sharing the message. There's lots of resources on there, namely ways that you can get these seminars done at your church or Sunday morning service, or just get the course yourself to take it because you feel you need to brush up on it. If you have a homeschool student or a school, every school is required to teach their students civics before they graduate. Our course does just that. It's taught in many schools. It's also utilized by self-educators and charter schools to teach individual students on their own. So I'd encourage you to do that. There's a big button on the front of our website that talks about our courses. Again, the website is theamericanview.com, and the word view is like how you look, V-I-E-W. theamericanview.com. We also have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you'll find us at Institute on the Constitution at those particular sites. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm encouraged by your all's work. I'm glad we had the time to meet. And thank you so much for having me on the air, guys.
Yeah, we thank you so much. Maybe I'll have you back here sometime in the near future. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Godspeed, guys.
All right. Okay, guys, it's time for commercials, and we'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. The ConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them the potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring. And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. Okay. Hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate. You want to visit our website. You do want to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can pick up an archive of this show. If you want to share this with us, it's a good message that we just heard here from Jake McCauley out there at the American View. Again, you want to check out his their website, theamericanview.com. I'll probably put a link up on the website after the show tonight so you can find it on our page, our homepage. We have a little section down there called Resources, and you just click on that link. We'll put a link up there. Click on it, it'll take you to the website. And just a really... like I said, I took their 2-hour course. They did a 2-hour mini course about a year ago, and it was strictly biblical. It's like the creation of the Constitution based on the Bible, and it was pretty good, pretty solid. And I just went to this meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he was there. I didn't even know that they were going to be the speaker, and they were there. We also had Dana Rohrabacher was there. Gave a kind of a talk here. I'll tell you, Joe, this guy wasn't anything like what I expected. This Dana Rohrabacher. I really expected your, groomed and groomed politician kind of guy, and full of jargon, political jargon and stuff. The guy comes into the meeting and he's got on an open neck shirt with puka shells, and. and this guy's got to be as old as me, maybe older. And he was his clothes were, he'd been out on the path all day, talking all day long at meetings and stuff. And so, he was kind of disheveled a little bit. His hair was a little bit messed up, But I tell you, you talk about somebody that can just really talk from the heart. And really zero in. He is one of the main targets out here by the left, by the way, because he is one of the few remaining conservatives that they've tried to take down a few times, and they haven't been able to do it. And he's on some of these committees, some of these big committees here, and he's pretty staunch. He's really a pro-Trumper too. I was really kind of surprised to hear him talk about Trump the way that he did. I thought he'd be more like a Scott Baio or somebody, or a Scott, what's that other guy's name? He's not even here anymore, or Darrell Issa type kind of thing. It was really something to see, but I was really impressed. I went to this meeting thinking it was going to be a bunch of,
people just talking about how bad the world is, but they had some speakers there, and Jake was one of them. Dana Robarker was the other one. Really good night out there. So, we got something out of that. Anyway, theamericanview.com. Check it out. And if you're a pastor out there listening, or you have a pastor out there that you think should be doing more and doing nothing, that this would be something you might want to talk to them about. Just have them check out the website. As Jake said, they don't have to do anything. Just buy the stuff. Just get it and disseminate it. You can use it in a Bible study or something like that. We did it at our church for a while. We had Dennis Prager had some 5-minute things. It was Prager University, I think they call it. I didn't go to those things because I don't like Dennis Prager, but at least somebody in the church thought, hey, we got to know a little bit more about what's going on. So they would have the Bible studies. They would do this. They play a 5-minute Dennis Prager University clip and then talk about it all night. You got to start somewhere. So whatever works. So anyway, what did I want to talk about here? That's why. Okay, yeah. I'm just my head is spinning right now. I've got like 20 thoughts going through my head right now. I got to get focused here. One of the things, I guess, let me kind of sum it up this way. One of the things that I've been noticing the last couple of weeks is I don't know if all these narratives, Joe, maybe you can fill me in on this. We got a couple of minutes here. Give me your view on this. We've got a couple of narratives that are floating out there. There's the Russian hacking narrative. There is the Obama tapped Trump's office narrative. There is Trump is insane and needs to be impeached narrative. And I'm not so sure. I mean, obviously, do you think that this is really just about creating conversations that detract from the fact that the Democrats have just really royally had their ass kicked and nobody wants to own up to it?
Yeah, well, they have nothing else as far as the Democrats go. They have nothing else but to create more just upheaval and do exactly that and get their sycophants out there with their long sticks and their little flags to go out there and beat up on people. That's all they have. They don't have anything else. They can't really do anything. They don't control any part of the government. 2/3 of the states they no longer control. So they have nothing. Barack Obama has torn down the Democrat Party to marginal status, and if they keep on going, they'll be even more marginalized. And so,
do you think that was intentional? Do you think Obama did that on purpose?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past the man because let's just go with the in the 30 seconds we have. Let's just go with hey. Did Barack Obama know that they were going to go ahead and collect data from the servers at the Trump Tower during the election campaign? Why, yes, he did know. He knew damn well what was going on. He knew exactly what was happening there. Now,
I get that. I get that.
The revelations that came out from WikiLeaks are what's really distressing about it, though.
Yeah, I haven't even touched on that in terms of my own, looking at it because of the fact that we've had all this other stuff. I want to meet some of these other little things head on here because as long as they can control the narrative, then it detracts. I think like I said, the immediate strategy here is just to make Trump look like a total idiot the first 100 days, and then just building that over the course of the year. And so we need to talk about that a little bit. But we're at the top of the hour here. We got to run our Edwards notebook, and then we'll pay some bills. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
I have said ever since Donald Trump first announced his candidacy for president that the nature of Donald Trump's presidency would expose the bigoted socialist rats like the ones trying to take down Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the Democrats are nothing more than a gaggle of bitter, disgusting patriot phobes, liberty phobes, Constitution phobes, low-tax phobes, Christian phobes, Trump phobes, etc., etc. They even recoiled when the president called to strongly go after terrorists and get them out of the country. The Democrats have devolved from just being the opposing party into obstructionists, or more accurately, deadly enemies of the Republic. But despite those enemies of our beloved America, she shall be great again. And we, the people, will be joyful as Americans in a land where God shall be honored. Prosperity will soon break out from sea to shining sea. In fact, much of the world will be blessed as a result of a renewed United States. If the Democrats remain embittered, bigoted progressives, they will soon be relegated to long-term irrelevancy as they from the sidelines watch America the Beautiful become and remain great for a long, long time. God bless America, and may America bless God. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
Middle America doesn't have an anger problem. It's got an idiot problem. The Conservative Syndicate, doing our part to eradicate the disease of idiocracy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Okay, hey, hour two right here at the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. I do hope you enjoyed that interview, first hour with Jake McCauley out there at the American View, the Institute on the Constitution. Just a really good organization. You get a chance to check them out. I'm going to turn the con over here to Joe because he mentioned just before the break here about the latest WikiLeaks, the revelation here that maybe all this stuff that's going on with the wiretapping and all this other things just might be, if there's any collusion, it may just be coming from our own people, maybe coming from our intelligence agencies, and lo and behold, maybe, just maybe, we've had a very Nixonian episode with Barack Obama when he was in the White House, particularly the last couple of months of the election, when all of a sudden he realized that, hey, Hillary Clinton could lose this thing. And there was a great movement at the last minute to preserve information that they said they had and had pretty much ignored because everybody thought Hillary was going to win this thing hands down. So, Joe, what can you bring to us on this?
Well, I mean, in December, Barack Obama decided to go ahead and change the rules of the game, which allowed all these quote-unquote agencies to have more ease of access in between the agencies for this information, which used to not occur, which made it a lot easier for those left behind that were in the Barack Obama administration to go ahead and not only have access to this information, but disseminate it across agencies. So he changed those rules before, like 17 days before he left office. So he could have done that. I was in office for 8 years, for crying out loud. How come he waited till 17 days to change it?
Well, here's my take on this. I think whenever we talk about this stuff, because it gets so discombobulated so fast, and you've got to step back when stuff like this starts hitting with the rapidity that it's hitting, how quick it's coming out, how quick it gets messed up in the translation and everything else. You have to go back to the starting point. And the starting point is this. Obama admits that back in early part of 2015, the DNC had been hacked. And that there was, at that time, a general opinion, not so much a consensus, but an opinion, that the hacking had occurred through Russian operatives of some kind. Maybe not Russian government operatives, but maybe they were saying, okay, whoever was doing this was over in that part of the world, Ukraine, something like that, Gustav II, that kind of stuff. And that as the narrative progressed a little bit more over the months, it was about the fact that WikiLeaks had gotten their hands on this hacking, this information of the hacking. By the way, John Podesta wasn't hacked. Okay, he was phished. His people fell for a scam or a scheme that people put out there all the time, and that's what granted access. That could have been done by anybody. But the point being is that up until June of 2015, nothing was being said. And then we remember Nancy Pelosi trotting out the initial damage control report that, well, wait a minute, after the Podesta stuff started hitting, well, we think that maybe the Russians are responsible for this. And from there, Barack Obama, we got some clips we'll play after the break here as we evolve on this. But the point being is that Barack Obama didn't make a decision to really do anything about this until October of 2016, a month before the election, when I think they realized, wait a minute, Hillary could lose this thing. And they needed to preserve whatever information they said they had for the purpose of being able to substantiate their claims at this point that Russia was influencing the election. And then it turned in from influencing the election to hacking the election to colluding with Donald Trump. And now we're sitting here, the fact that what they want us to believe is that Donald Trump is really a Russian. Okay, he's a mole agent that was put there by Vladimir Putin, that kind of thing. And I've got some clips and stuff we're going to play later, but I want to expound on what Joe's talking about the actual leaks themselves, what the WikiLeaks is out there talking about. And we'll talk about that when we get back here. We got to go to our break here. There's a short segment. When we get back, we'll get more in detail on this. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You're listening to the Strident Conservative. No rhinos allowed.
Hello, America. This is David Leach, the Strident Conservative. I've been following the GOP pretty closely since the election to see if they'll keep their campaign promises, particularly the promise to repeal Obamacare, root and branch. Since caving to Trumpism after the election, the establishment Republicans have embraced Trump's insure everybody approach to government-provided health care. This led to the inevitable early warning signs of a Clinton-esque modification to keeping their promise. It all depends on what the definition of the word repeal is. During the annual GOP retreat, a word that can mean either a period of group withdrawal to a place of seclusion and privacy, or the withdrawal from a difficult situation. I'll leave it up to you to decide which definition applies to these invertebrates. The groundwork for the eventual capitulation on Obamacare repeal was laid, leading to a rebranding of their promise from repeal and replace to retreat and repair. Following the retreat, the redefinition of the acrostic RINO, or Rhino, was given. It used to mean Republican in name only, but it turned into repeal in name only, which became the very definition of Ryan Care / Trump Care and the Pelosi-esque bill presented to the American people yesterday. The GOP-owned measure is so much like Obamacare that some in Congress are actually using Obama's old sales pitch to sell their plan. And despite claims to the contrary from the Trump cult, this whole bill was developed by Ryan and Company in partnership with the White House, and it enjoys the full support of the Trump administration. The Republican Party has truly become the Trumplican Party, and as a result, they no longer represent conservatives or our values. With the next election only 20 months away, it's time for conservatives to say goodbye to the GOP and hello to a new party. If you have a comment on this topic, visit stridentconservative.com. And if you're into social media, give us a like on Facebook or follow us on Twitter.
Since its founding, America has always been admired and envied throughout the world for its system of government, one that empowers its citizens to seek their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No other country or nation in history has benefited from its diversity, simply due to the opportunities available to anyone from anywhere. But there have been and are those who envy our freedom for a very different reason. And today we find ourselves as never before being threatened by this formidable foe intent on our destruction. For this reason, Act for America exists. Act for America is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots national security organization with over 300,000 members and 1,000 chapters focused on educating, engaging, and mobilizing citizens and elected officials to impact legislative outcomes to protect America against terrorism both here and abroad. As a result, our network has driven the education process toward the successful passage of 43 bills in 22 states. We continue to expand our nationwide volunteer chapter network, training citizens to recognize and help prevent criminal activity and terrorism in the United States while preserving the civil liberties protected by the United States Constitution. To find out more, check us out at actforamerica.org. That's actforamerica.org.
That America must put its own citizens first, because only then can we truly make America great again.
Am I not speaking English?
The Conservative Syndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, we're back. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I want to just spend a little bit more time on this WikiLeaks thing because I think this just may be the breaking story, one of the biggest breaking stories, since the Podesta emails, I guess. And WikiLeaks is in front and center in some of these things that are going on right now. I'm looking at WikiLeaks website right now. And one of the things on the press release that WikiLeaks has released what they call Vault 7. And it is over 8,000 pages of documents that they apparently have been able to get their hands on. And it involves CIA intelligence, counterintelligence, whatever you want to call it. What's the word? It's intelligence. Okay, intelligence. And one of the things I just reading the first couple of paragraphs of the press release, I was listening to one of the talking heads out there this morning on Fox News. I don't even know who the guy was because I don't watch Fox News that much. I just happened to be in front of the TV when it came on, and he was interviewing. He's a no-name. I don't know who he is. He does a morning news show or something like that. And he was talking to this guy. And, I know what it was. My wife was watching CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network. That's what it was. Pat Robertson was interviewing this guy from Washington. So, yeah, I stand corrected. And Robertson asked him about this idea that is it really illegal for the CIA to gather information? He says, well, they are, after all, an intelligence agency, right? And this guy offered, I thought, a very telling revelation here. He said, the CIA's, there's nothing illegal about the CIA gathering intelligence on foreign entities because that's their mission, that's their purpose. So whatever they do out there to gather intelligence on foreign entities is well within the law. But if they are doing it domestically, they are breaking the law because the whole CIA is supposed to be set up for the foreign theater. The FBI is our domestic intelligence agency, if you want to call it that. The CIA is the foreign. And the fact that the CIA is involving itself in domestic spying or gathering of intelligence is a big problem. So I'm reading the first couple of paragraphs here on this WikiLeaks thing. And it says here, the first full part of the series, Year Zero, compromises 8,761 documents and files from an isolated high-security network situated inside the CIA's Center for Cyber Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. That's where they train CIA people, by the way. It follows an introductory disclosure last month of CIA targeting French political parties and candidates in the lead-up to the 2012 presidential election. Now, let's just digest that for just a second here. We have the media in overdrive right now trying to say that it's un-American for people to come into our election system and try to influence it from the outside, knowing, of course, that that's been going on forever. Intelligence, counterintelligence, spying, gathering information, leaks, moles, that's been going on for as long as there's been, at least as long since there's been the Soviet Union, even back during Nazi Germany. Okay, this was standard operating procedure. but the CIA is targeting French political parties. Why? And how does that line up with the idea that if there was some type of tampering with the Russians and influencing our elections, which, again, I think is just way, way out there, the fact that Russia could influence anything over here is just, I think just start crazing, mad. The idea, maybe European socialism, yeah. Russian socialism, no, I think people still have too much of that inherent belief that Russia is just, the ultimate communist nation. But don't you find that kind of peculiar, Joe, that we're sitting here making all this noise about Russia possibly influencing our elections when the first admission we see here is that we're out tampering with other countries?
Well, that's just hypocrisy. That's just the hypocrisy of it all, especially the Obama administration, because we know what he was trying to do. He was trying to do it in Israel, for example. But the thing is one of the revelations brought up from this WikiLeaks is that the intelligence agencies have the capability of making anything that they do look like a Russian hacker did it.
Yeah, that was one of the things here. It goes. This article goes on. I want to let you expound. I just want to get this one other thought out here, and I want to come back to what you were just saying. It says, recently the CIA lost control of the majority of its hacking arsenal, including malware, viruses, Trojans, weaponized zero-day exploits, malware remote control systems, and associated documentation. That means that they had all these capabilities, and somewhere down the line they lost control of it. What does that mean? Does that mean that somebody else has it? Or that they have people within their agency operating rogue? Or they have no control over it? I don't understand what that means in terms of, that's kind of a scary thought. If they've got all this stuff and they have lost control of it, does that not mean that maybe some of the things that they have has been accessed by people who actually did the hacking? That seems to be the reasonable path of thought here. You lost control of something. Does that mean what we're looking at now is a cover-up on your ineptness? And maybe you're trying to hang somebody else?
Well, it could well be a covered up on their ineptitude, but the problem being is here's the larger issue with the WikiLeaks is, how did WikiLeaks get a hold of this data? How did they get a hold of this stuff? It's somebody from the inside. It's not a Snowden out there who left and is out there hanging out somewhere. This person's still inside. These people are still here, still underground, still inside the wire, and they're releasing it to the outside sources, i.e. WikiLeaks. That's the bigger problem.
Yeah, and I agree, because that's where I was leading to. If they've lost control of something, that means that somebody else has gained access to it. And that I can only think that what we may have here, maybe it is a Russian operative, but maybe it's a Russian operative that infiltrated the CIA and is working from the inside. Let's look at it that way.
Or maybe it's just the Edward Snowden type CIA operative who is leaking this stuff out because he's angry about the outcome of an election, and he wants to make sure that he can bring things down from the inside.
Right. And at somebody, I would assume, I'm just assuming here, we can only speculate, but I'm assuming here, or speculating and saying, if that's the case, somebody that has this kind of access, that has a clearance that would have access to this kind of stuff, I'm pretty confident that what we're talking about is somebody, he or she or they would have had a directive from somebody higher up the chain. That seems to me the reasoning here, because if I was at the top of the food chain here in the CIA and I was really concerned about this losing control of all these things that we've been using, I'm pretty sure that if you were the head of the agency and you really wanted to find out what was going on, you could. You'd find out who the people were, who was responsible for this. They have ways of doing that. There's, you can set, it's the old, let's put $1 out on the desk and see who takes it because we're somebody stealing from us, that kind of thing. I don't think the CIA is that ignorant that they couldn't find who the leak is or leaks are, depending on whether it's one or more. if they really wanted to. And so it kind of tells me that there's kind of my gut check tells me here that this has been directed from a higher authority, these kind of leaks and stuff like that. I mean, you think I'm off the wall here? Am I just reaching?
Well, I think when it comes down to, I think part of what you're getting at there is what was bringing down General Flynn and that kind of thing. That is the leftover Obama administration. Those kind of revelations, because the General Flynn, again, the CIA legally cannot surveil any U.S. citizen. They can surveil foreign entities, but not U.S. citizens. They can't do it, not legally. Now, the FISA court they can say, oh, this individual, this U.S. citizen is just there, but we're not really trying to look at him. But they have to let the court know that went on. And so I don't know if that's happened yet because FISA stuff is in secret. It is done in secret. And people go, well, President Trump could just ask and he could find this stuff out instantaneously. He's in charge of all those agencies now. Yeah, that's very true. But understand this, the FISA court is a secret thing. The only way that Donald Trump gets this to be brought out in the light of day is doing by the way he did. He made the assumption, the assertion that, hey, Barack Obama was wiretapping Trump Tower during the election campaign. And he let it go out to do just exactly that. He just put it out there because he knows damn well he can't be the one to go out there and say, here's what's going on. Yeah. Because when he finds out that Barack Obama was using his intelligence agencies to surveil on an opposition political party, using those resources to do it, 40,000 times more than what Nixon did.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at here.
Yeah.
That's scary. Is that what we're using? We have a outgoing administration that spies on opposition political campaigns.
Yeah, well,
prior to an election? Are you kidding me? Or is that what we're going to have in this nation? That's the stuff that they do. Oh, that's right. We are a banana republic.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point here. This is Watergate on steroids, because this whole law that the Obama people and the intelligence community are citing as reasons why Obama couldn't have done anything like this or been a part of it, that it was because of Watergate. That's what got all these laws put in place. The fact that Richard Nixon was just doing what he wanted to do, and the intelligence agencies were in collusion with him, and he was just doing it. But here's my point. In line with this, we know if you follow this kind of stuff at all, even if you're like a James Bond freak, or maybe you like spy novels or whatever, that, how many times during the course of our lifetime, Joe, when we've had things come up, whether it be the Cuban Missile Crisis or anything doing with the Soviet Union or anything doing with espionage or whatever, and you get intelligence people in front of a committee or something, and they use these phrases like, I can neither deny nor confirm. Okay, they say, I can't admit and I can't deny. I can't tell you it is, I can't tell you it isn't. And that's what I'm hearing now from all these people. Barack Obama, his spokesman, says no White House official ever interfered with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. Okay? Does that mean, well, what about the State Department? What about the CIA? What about the FBI? And by the way, the big question to me is, what makes everybody think that Obama would have done this through intelligence agencies anyways? Could he have not done what Nixon did? Gone out and hired his own little special crew? For crying out loud, the man came out of the Chicago machine. Those people are experts at doing this kind of stuff. So it's like they're trying to keep everything in this little box. What's to say that Barack Obama doesn't have his own little intelligence force out there?
Yeah, so that's the two things to keep them separate. Obama, what did he do prior to the election, and how are these things coming out? Because there's way too damn convenient on how all these things are coming out. There's somebody on the inside right now doing this.
Yeah.
Those are the two things. What did Obama do prior? And then, boom. Why? Who's left over, and where are they at? Because they need to get found out, and they need to be buried.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe that's what it is. And Trump has done. I think that's a very good point. What Trump has done is he's done what Obama always does, and what the Clintons always do. Basically, it's I'm going to make an accusation, and you prove me wrong.
Yeah,
And I think that's very appropriate way of doing it. What I want to do here when we get back here, we're kind of out of order in our clips, but it's not going to be a big deal because I want to stay on track with this. I think we're deep enough into this now. We should just talk it out. I've got a couple of clips here, and this is Barack Obama at a press conference back in December of last year. Just before he ordered his quote-unquote report, he was getting ready to go on vacation. And he ordered, you remember, when he went on vacation, he said, when I come back, I want this report as to what actually happened here, what actually occurred. Well, this is a press conference he gave in December 16th, 2016. And I want you to listen very carefully. I broke it down in 3 segments, about a 3-minute clip, about a minute each. I want you to really listen to how he answers the questions by the reporters about the Russian hacking incidences, okay? We're going to go to break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
You can now find us on the Amazon Echo and Echo Dot, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, and we also have the phone apps in the App Store for your particular phone. And just in case we activated your Echo Dot, Alexa, stop.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway. But sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate a lower tax bill. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will fight for you using industry secrets that can stop any IRS actions, eliminate penalties and interest, and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor now for a free IRS audit emergency review.
800-691-9879. 800-691-9879. 800-691-9879. That's 800-691-9879.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800 1-800-961-9194. Promo code Red State. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right. Hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. All right, I want to get into some of these clips here. And as I mentioned before the break here, Barack Obama back in December, a little over a month after the election, all of a sudden there seemed to be something was wrong. You know, we kind of laid out the timeline here. Barack Obama in December admitted that they knew as well as early as January 2015 that the DNC had been hacked. And if you'll remember, or I think it was even before that, a couple years before that, the State Department had been hacked. And so he was, I guess they decided, and you'll hear this as he speaks, they had made a decision to kind of downplay it all, not really say too much about it, because I guess the general opinion was, you'll hear how he phrases it, but I'm just translating it for you in advance, that Hillary Clinton was going to win this thing. Understand, back in January of 2015, Donald Trump still wasn't even considered a viable candidate. Okay, it was still going to be Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio or somebody like that. It wasn't until March, I think, Jeb Bush dropped out, and then everything followed after that. So this Russian this hacking of the DNC, and all these things were obtained. Then it was like in June, I believe, is when we started getting the John Podesta emails that were released by WikiLeaks. So this really, whatever happened at a time before anybody thought that Donald Trump was a serious candidate. I mean, I don't even think on this show we talked about him being that serious. He was kind of like a dark horse and maybe a long shot. But, you know, I don't remember us talking about him being viable until after I think Jeb Bush dropped out. So anyway, this is the press conference in 2016, just before he leaves for vacation and orders a report that when he comes back from vacation, he wants to know as soon as he gets back what the deal was on this hacking and whether Russia had anything to do with it. So, Joe, if you got the clip number 3 queued up there, let's go with that.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a perception that you're letting President Putin get away with interfering in the U.S. election, and that a response that nobody knows about or a look-back review just don't cut it. Are you prepared to call out President Putin by name for ordering this hacking? And do you agree with what Hillary Clinton now says, that the hacking was actually partially responsible for her loss?
What we've simply said is the facts, which are that based on uniform intelligence assessments, the Russians were responsible for hacking the DNC, and that as a consequence, it is important for us to review all elements of that and make sure that we are preventing that kind of interference through cyber attacks in the future.
All right, so he comes out and he says, first of all, he says there was a general assessment by the intelligence communities. Like I said, this is before the report, quote unquote, the report came out in January. And he was referring to the fact that this assessment was being made, if I'm reading and hearing it in context of what he was saying, that this assessment had been made since the election had taken place. And there wasn't, it didn't seem to be a big deal up until that time. Now, the next clip here is how Obama is explaining how the White House reported all this stuff to the media back in, I believe it was June of 2015, when it first came out. And it was very downplayed. The only person trying to make a big deal about it was Nancy Pelosi, telling everybody, disregard the Podesta emails because it could have come from Russian hackers. And therefore, even though that's true, we don't want to follow it because the Russians did it, that kind of thing. So you got the next clip there, Joe. Let's go with that one.
At the beginning of the summer, we're alerted to the possibility that the DNC has been hacked. And I immediately order law enforcement, as well as our intelligence teams, to find out everything about it, investigate it thoroughly, to brief the potential victims of this hacking. And once we had clarity and certainty around what in fact had happened, we publicly announced that, in fact, Russia had hacked into the DNC. And at that time, we did not attribute motives or any interpretations of why they had done so. We didn't discuss what the effects of it might be. We simply let people know, the public know, just as we had let members of Congress know, that this had happened.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, John. Let me just chime in here.
Okay.
His own intelligence agency heads said there was no evidence of Russia doing what he just said they did. Okay. In front of Congress, that's what they testified to.
Okay. Now here, let's put this in perspective here. Timeline. January, they find out or they believe that the DNC has been hacked. Okay, now in December, in this press conference, Obama alludes to the fact it was the Russians. But in January, they knew the DNC had been hacked. Nothing was said to the media. Nothing was reported. He says at that point in time what they did, they started gathering their data and their intelligence and their information, okay? Now he says what? In the summer of 2016, they had ascertained through the general assessments of the intelligence communities that the Russians were responsible for the DNC hack. And that's why we had Nancy Pelosi come out with a preliminary damage control that, because at the same time, see, look at the timing here. The Podesta emails hit. And then Obama comes out and says, well, we have information that the Russians are the ones that hacked the DNC. And through the hacking of the DNC, the John Podesta emails were accessed. That's their narrative. That's how they're playing it here. But he's saying in the summer of 2016, we decided or had determined that the Russians hacked the DNC. Again, no evidence. That was just the assessment of the intelligence community. Now, what was happening in June 2016? Donald Trump has sewed up the nomination for the Republican Party. That's what was going on. The rest of them were dropping off like flies. I think at that point in time, it was him and Cruz. And he had more delegates. Everybody knew Donald Trump was going to be the guy. So all of a sudden, now what happens is we got Donald Trump, the candidate nobody thought was going to win, and we've got emails out there tearing Hillary Clinton apart. Wow, we got to do something here. So what do? We come out and we tell the public, or we tell the press, we tell Congress, we believe that the DNC had been hacked by the Russians. again, still, he says, we made no assessment as to what they were doing or why they did it, because we didn't want to give the impression. He says, I know in another interview, he said, we didn't want to give the impression that we were trying to influence the election by putting this information out there. Okay, so what he's saying is, we didn't make any determination as to what and why they were doing it. We just put the information out there. He then goes on to say, but you in the media began to write reports on this. You in the media began to do this. You began to interpret it. You began to put it out there, which is exactly what they wanted. See, that alleviates him from any blame. Let's put it out there, and we'll let the media run with it. And I can just sit back and go, I never told you guys this stuff was going on. You made that assumptions on your own. So a very sly way of doing this. Just leak it to the media, let the media run with it, and let it do what it's supposed to do. And then they just build on that. They build on what the media is doing, and they build that narrative up. That's how you do it. You leak it. If it takes hold, now we start building on the narrative. If it doesn't, you can just discard it, claim no knowledge of it, you have nothing to do with it, and you start over. That's how they do this thing. Okay, now, the last clip. I think we got time for the last clip here. What Obama does here in the last clip. Let's see. What's my notes here? Anyway, the last clip, he says what you just said, Joe. His assessment was that Russia really couldn't influence the elections because we're America and Russia's irrelevant. Now, go ahead and play the next clip.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a perception that you're letting President Putin get away with interfering in the U.S. election, and that a response that nobody knows about or a look.
Let me fast forward that, John.
Okay.
Go right about here.
This had happened.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Can you, given all the intelligence that we have now heard, assure the public that this was, once and for all, a free and fair election? And specifically on Russia, do you feel any obligation now, as they've been insisting that this isn't the case, to show the proof, as it were? They say, put your money where your mouth is and declassify some of the intelligence, some of the evidence that exists. And more broadly, as it relates to Donald Trump on this very topic.
This is part of what I meant when I said that we've got to think about what's happening to our political culture here. The Russians can't change us or significantly weaken us. They are a smaller country. They are a weaker country. Their economy doesn't produce anything that anybody wants to buy except oil and gas and arms. They don't innovate. But they can impact us if we lose track of who we are. They can impact us if we abandon our values.
That is, wow. That was just a really piece of fine work by former President Obama. Russia is a weaker, smaller country. Yeah, with nuclear missiles pointed right at you. So, sure, they can't do anything to us. Yeah, the Russians didn't do anything. This was all brought on by inept Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C. Their candidate that they had running, Hillary Rodham Clinton, had a server sitting in her bathroom, unsecured, private email server with top secret and above data on it, and yet they wanted to blame everybody and their mother on doing this, except the people that were actually involved in it and at fault, that being in the Obama administration and beyond.
Yeah, now we got to let's keep things in perspective here. We know for a fact, and it has been revealed, that the DNC and the RNC were both attacked through cybersecurity measures. The hacking was attempted on both sides of this thing. It wasn't just the DNC.
Every day we're attacked.
Right.
Every day we're attacked.
Right.
It's nothing new.
No, and the RNC's security system held up. The DNC did not. We know that John Podesta's emails were not hacked. They were phished. One of his staff members answered a spam, and gave somebody access to his information. The problem is that information, which to date has never been denied, but has been confirmed, was detrimental to the Clinton campaign. So you look at the timeline here, from the time they knew to the time they first disclosed to the time they called for a report to now where we need an investigation. And through this whole process, nobody has yet to produce viable evidence that the Russians, one, were involved, and two, that they affected the election. Barack Obama just told us this is December, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, right? No, Russia can't influence our elections. Remember all the big fervor about when Donald Trump says, well, I don't know if I'd accept the election results or not. And all the fervor from the left about the system, our system, the way it's too spread out, it's at state level, blah, blah, blah. Nobody can hack our system. Nobody can change the election results. And by the way, Donald, are you going to accept the results? Look at what's happened since then. It's been a complete reversal. You would think this is Donald Trump in drag. Okay, I don't accept the results. The president is illegitimate. And by the way, you hacked our election and you changed the outcome of it dishonorably and everything else. They're crying the same mantra. That's why I keep calling this the ever-increasing hypocrisy files. Everything that they thought they could lay on Donald Trump because they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, all of a sudden backfired, and now the chickens have come home to roost, if I can use a familiar phrase. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue this. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Am I not speaking English?
TheConservativeSyndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right. We're back here at the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. Once again, just a quick encouragement, visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, when you get a chance. Weekend's a good time to listen to our archives. When you're sitting there at the computer, doing your online shopping or whatever it is you do, and just turn on the show, theconservativesyndicate.net. All right, I want to kind of take back everything that we've just said here, and I want to go back here for a moment to the article that I referenced here at the beginning here. This came out of the GMA, Good Morning America here, and it was called What We Know About Trump's Unsubstantiated Wiretapping Allegations Against Obama. There's a telling headline for you. And they broke it down here. The three claims that Trump is making, and the responses by different players in the game here. And I want to go to the claim number 2 that they have here, that Obama ordered or was at least involved in the alleged wiretapping. This is what I was leading up to earlier in our conversation about how the intelligence community and how politicians answer a question without answering a question. And what they do is they deflect, or they sound like they're giving you an answer, but they're really not. Okay? Now, Trump was saying in 4 tweets, the 4 tweets out there, the big tweets, I guess, Trump directly tied Obama to the alleged wiretapping, saying Obama had my wires tapped and Obama was tapping my phones. Now, they go on to say, of course, he hasn't offered any evidence to back those claims. As Joe said, probably couldn't because he might be compromising classified information. He can't do that. But the White House goes on and says that Obama was personally responsible whether he ordered it or not. Now, this is what Obama's saying, and you got to listen carefully to the language here. He says a spokesman for Obama said no White House official ever interfered with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. Okay? That doesn't mean that there wasn't wiretapping ordered. Obama is saying, I never ordered it. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect analogy of why I think this is fake and false. The Osama bin Laden thing. Remember the big debate about whether Obama was even in the room during the time it took on, the time that event took place? That Obama, there was something going on there, and Obama wasn't. There was a big thing about whether Obama was actually in the room or not, and the allegations were that he wasn't in the room. And I know this sounds far-fetched, but just hang with me here. He was standing in the doorway so that he could say he wasn't in the room. Okay, this is what I'm hearing here. This is what I'm hearing. He's saying, I didn't order any wiretapping. Does that not mean that he couldn't have said something to somebody like Loretta Lynch or somebody like, maybe somebody should do something about this. Maybe somebody should find out what's going on. And the Department of Justice takes it upon themselves to do it. See, he has alleviated any responsibility by saying, I never ordered it. That doesn't mean he didn't imply it. It doesn't mean that somebody within his sphere of influence didn't decide to do it. James Clapper's the same way. He's saying, well, during my time there, nothing like this was ordered. But I'm gone, I don't know what happened after I left.
It's all plausible deniability. That's all this is.
Yeah. James Comey, same thing, I find it funny that James Comey is asking the Justice Department to refute this allegation of that the FBI was wiretapping, when Reince Priebus asked Comey to do the same thing. Well, you tell us none of this is relevant. Can you come out and tell the media that? Oh, I can't do that. Okay. Why? If there's no investigation, why can't you say that? They say so. This double speak and this back and forth. Somebody's hiding something somewhere. That's my point. Something is there, but I don't.
The thing is there's a FISA court order, and the FISA court order is a secret thing, and all they have to do is ask for it, and the judge at the FISA court never refuses to allow it to happen. Every single time they want it, they get it. It's almost like, Mother, may I? Sure you can, sweetheart. Go right ahead. They never turn it down. That's the crap part of this. There's never a judge on the FISA court to say no way. Because why? Because what if they turn it down and something really, really bad happens and people die?
Right.
So that's the BS part of this.
Well, I think even more to the point is the fact that we sit here and look at this. Look, Clapper said over the last weekend, not this, the previous weekend, not last weekend, the previous weekend, that there is no investigation on Donald Trump, that the investigation was being held on some of his associates, okay, not on Donald Trump. All right, if that is the case, if James Comey's saying we're not investigating Donald Trump, if all this is, what's the big deal about revealing what you've got? Why? Because if you do that, you kill the narrative. That's the point. You can't kill the narrative because somebody's told these guys, we want the narrative.
Well, because FISA court orders are done for national security reasons, nothing less, supposedly. Okay, not for criminal investigations. That's what the FISA court is for, national security stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Very good point here. All right, guys, we're up at the end of the hour here, end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow. I've got more on this, more of the hypocrisy files, and we'll see what develops on this story overnight. Maybe I'll have some time to look at the WikiLeaks stuff tomorrow. I'll have a little bit more substance for you. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. God love you. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hayko, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.